Welcome to the last lesson of Module 3, where we are going to tackle the advanced risk management techniques, scenario planning. This covers the principles, benefits, and applications of scenario planning. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand the principle of scenario planning and usage in procurement risk. Apply stages of scenario planning for your relevant categories and materials. Let's get started. Earlier in the course, we reviewed several techniques to perform risk identification and assessment, and we taught how to define the right mitigation plan, impact and probability. Ishikawa model, fishbone, Delphi method, and others. All of them are relatively easy to perform, and you can apply those methods for your initial risk assessment and big scale of suppliers and materials. However, there are cases when more sophisticated and thorough analysis is required. Challenges often arise in the market when dealing with complex categories or materials, especially when numerous variables contribute to the risk within your area. There are many advanced techniques on how to deal with this, but I would like to share with you one of them. It's scenario planning, also known as what-if scenario. Scenario analysis is a valuable tool in procurement risk analysis that helps decision makers assess the potential impact of different scenarios or situations. It involves creating hypothetical situation and assessing the outcomes of each scenario. In essence, scenario planning helps an enterprise identify potential risks, disruptions, and challenges that could affect procurement, allowing for the definition of response scenarios through proactive planning rather than reactive measures. To explain scenario analysis in simple words, let's imagine you plan a weekend trip. You check the weather forecast and consider two scenarios: rainy weather and sunny weather. If it's rainy, you pack an umbrella and raincoat. If it's hot and sunny, you bring UV protection cream and sunglasses. This helps you prepare for different possibilities. The beauty of scenario analysis isn't just about managing risks or dealing with disruptions. It also helps identify areas for improvement and new opportunities. For example, if it rains, you might discover a new indoor museum to visit. If it's sunny, you might explore a new outdoor walking route. Now let's look at scenario planning from a procurement perspective. There are 4 key steps on how to perform scenario analysis. First, identify your driving forces. In this stage, you look broader at external environmental shifts on your company's planned developments and define which areas impact your procurement area. For example, your company is going to grow geographically, so it impacts your supplier base in that region. Climate changes can impact your product origins. Second, identify your critical uncertainties. From all driving forces which you defined in step 1, pick 1 or 2 which is the most impactful for your area. It might be labor shortage, cyber risk, forex volatility, etc. It's also important to clarify the time horizon of the exercise as well as the focal questions or issues that needs to be addressed. Third, develop a range of scenarios. The goal of this step is to look at all of your uncertainty areas to define possible scenarios, both optimistic and pessimistic. Fourth, discuss the implications. During this stage, you define and discuss all implications and impacts of every scenario and outcome for the business. Finally, you will define mitigations for the risky outcomes. Now, let me give you an example of scenario planning with the stages we discussed earlier. I worked in the FMCG company, which produces finished goods with the pieces of fresh vegetables. The main source of vegetable is Southern European countries. The company undertakes a scenario planning exercise to identify future risks and opportunities that could come from climate change, specifically extremely high temperatures. First, our procurement professional identifies driving forces, which are climate change, such as temperature increase and RAIN quantity reduction. Then, buyer defines critical uncertainties, which are the availability of the necessary quantities of raw vegetables, price, and supplier market. Several scenarios are defined. Some are positive, around having the possibility to develop sustainable agriculture solution that will save the crops. Another one is pessimistic, considering the temperature limits will go even higher. Finally, our buyer defines implications to the organization in terms of price, delivery time, capacity, and volumes. Based on the discussion and analysis, several options have been defined to explore. For example, searching for alternative countries of origin, developing sustainable solutions with farmers, industry cooperation with other customers of raw vegetables for common effort, and reformulation of the recipe to replace raw vegetables with the dried ones. Looking into upcoming possible scenarios and implications, our procurement team helps business mitigate risk of product availability to consumers in a proactive manner. Our team at Procurement Tactics created this template for you. It represents several scenarios you explore, impact of each scenario, uncertainties and questions every scenario raises, and proposed response. You can discuss the summary with your team and decide the next steps and tweaks to your business continuity plan. Please feel free to download it and use for your portfolio if relevant. With this, we wrap up our lesson, where we explored the process and content of scenario planning methods for assessing and mitigating risk in procurement. Thank you, and see you soon.